I woke up that morning with a strange mix of anticipation and unease. Turning 40 should feel monumental, yet a small knot twisted in my stomach unbidden. The house smelled faintly of fresh coffee and vanilla candles, Emma's way of making any day feel like a celebration. She was in the kitchen, humming softly, her hair pulled back neatly, her eyes scanning the room as if noticing every detail I would miss. I always admired that about her, her ability to see everything, yet she never intruded. I checked my phone. No new emails. Nothing from the caterers confirming the last-minute orders. Strange, my meticulous planning rarely allowed for such gaps. My hand lingered over the screen, hesitation creeping in. Maybe I was overthinking. Maybe 40 just made me jittery. "Morning, Daniel," Emma said, setting a plate of croissants on the table. Her voice was calm, but there was a tension I couldn't quite place. I forced a smile, nodding. "Morning. Everything ready for tonight?" I asked, trying to mask the flutter in my chest. "Almost. Just a few last touches. You'll see," she replied, her eyes briefly flicking toward the drawer by the sideboard before returning to me. Something in that glance unsettled me, though I couldn't name why. I wandered through the living room, straightening magazines, adjusting the throw pillows, rehearsing the charm I'd wear tonight. Friends, colleagues, family, everyone would be here. They would see the perfect Daniel, celebrating a perfect life. I liked the control, the precision, the way every detail reflected my effort, my success. But there was a shadow, small, almost imperceptible, a misplaced call earlier in the week, the email I never got, a flicker of something in Emma's eyes. By mid-morning, I could no longer ignore it. I paused by the window, looking out at the quiet street, the sunlight gilding the cars parked outside. A deep breath, a sip of coffee, and I reminded myself, perfection required focus, poise. Emma appeared beside me, placing a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "You're going to love tonight," she said softly. Her smile was warm, but something in her gaze lingered longer than usual. Something that promised change. I forced a laugh, nodding. I'm ready for the perfect celebration. Yet, as I watched her retreat to the kitchen, a whisper of doubt slithered through me, a tiny warning I chose to ignore. Tonight was supposed to be flawless, but something unspoken was already creeping in. The living room was quiet, save for the soft hum of the air conditioner. I had taken it upon myself to straighten the room, arranging magazines and fluffing cushions, trying to distract myself from the lingering unease of Daniel's earlier tension. As I knelt to push a drawer back into place, something caught the corner of my eye, a small cream-colored envelope tucked just behind the wood. Curiosity prickled at me. I hesitated, then slid it out carefully, my fingers brushing against the envelope's smooth surface. No handwriting I recognized. No stamp or mark, just a single name scrawled in neat letters. Claire. My heart gave a small, nervous flutter. I tore it open carefully, almost ritualistically. Inside I found photographs. Daniel smiling at a woman I didn't know, at a hotel lobby with a dated keycard in hand. My stomach sank, twisting painfully. Alongside them was a folded receipt, marked with charges I didn't recognize, and a note crisp and impersonal. "See you soon. Don't tell anyone." I sank back against the sofa, the envelope trembling in my hands. The room seemed suddenly smaller, the shadows deeper, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. Questions spun wildly in my mind. Why hadn't he told me? How long had this been going on? I tried to recall my marriage, our conversations, his late nights, his phone calls. Patterns I had ignored, dismissed as work stress or forgetfulness, suddenly sharpened into a threatening clarity. I held the photographs closer, staring at the faces with disbelief. The woman's smile was casual, intimate in a way that made my chest tighten. Daniel's expression, so familiar, so trusted, now seemed layered with a secret I could not yet fully comprehend. Footsteps on the stairs made me jump, and I quickly stuffed the envelope behind the cushion, as if hiding it could erase its existence. Daniel's voice floated down, cheerful and unaware. "Emma, are you ready to help with the decorations?" I straightened, forcing a calm I did not feel. "Just a minute, I'm finishing up here." My words sounded hollow, even to me. As he passed the doorway, I watched him, studying his relaxed gait, the casual tilt of his head. Something in me shifted. a subtle, unspoken awareness that the life I thought I knew had cracks. And tonight, on what was meant to be a perfect celebration, I might finally see them widen. The envelope lay hidden behind the cushion, its contents whispering secrets I wasn't yet ready to confront, but could not ignore. I waited until the party preparations gave us a brief moment alone. My hands clutched the envelope behind my back, knuckles white. When Daniel stepped into the living room, his easy smile made my chest tighten. How could the same man I loved inspire such unease? "Daniel," I began, my voice trembling despite my attempt at calm. "I found something in the living room." He raised an eyebrow, curiosity and amusement flickering across his face. "Oh, what did you find?" I held out the envelope, letting the photographs and receipts peek out. Who is Claire?"
"What is all this?"
His smile widened, bordering on condescension. "Claire, Emma, seriously? Are we really going to do this today?" He stepped closer, lowering his voice, a practiced intimacy that made my stomach twist. "I think you're letting paranoia get the better of you. You know me. You trust me, don't you?" I swallowed, the room spinning slightly. I wanted to cling to that trust, the life we built together, but my fingers ached around the envelope. "I don't know what to think. These are pictures, receipts, messages. It looks, he interrupted smoothly. "It looks like you're imagining things. I've been working late, handling some old contacts. You know how tedious paperwork can get." His tone was casual, convincing. Yet the subtle pressure in his gaze made my thoughts stutter. I wanted to scream, to demand the truth, but a seed of doubt had already been planted. Could I really trust my own perception? Or was I overreacting, letting fear distort what I know about him? Daniel leaned in, his hand brushing my arm in a gesture meant to reassure. "Emma, look at me. Nothing is going on. You're reading too much into shadows. Let it go, okay?" I nodded slowly, swallowing the bitter lump of suspicion. "Okay," I whispered, though my heart refused to believe the word. As he walked away, humming softly, I sank onto the sofa, staring at the envelope hidden in my pocket. The room was quiet again, yet the air felt heavier, charged with tension that words couldn't erase. The doubt he had planted flickered like a shadow in my mind, mingling with the fear I dared not voice. Tonight, the perfect celebration would continue, but the first cracks in my certainty had already appeared, subtle yet insidious, threatening to fracture everything I thought I knew about him. The living room buzzed with energy as friends and family arrived, carrying bottles of wine and cheerful smiles. Music filled the background, upbeat and lively, but to me it sounded distant, like a soundtrack to someone else's life. Daniel moved through the crowd effortlessly, laughing, shaking hands, and exchanging hugs. Every gesture was polished, rehearsed, his charm undeniable. Guests complimented him, praised his accomplishments, and he accepted each with ease, the perfect host. Yet my eyes were drawn to the subtle cracks, the way he lingered too long in conversation with Mark from work, his eyes darting briefly to the side, as though ensuring no one noticed. The small, almost imperceptible flinch when his phone buzzed in his pocket. The slight tightness in his jaw when someone mentioned travel plans. Everything seemed ordinary, yet my instincts screamed otherwise. I sipped my champagne, trying to anchor myself in the moment, but my mind kept returning to the envelope hidden in the drawer at home. The photographs, the hotel receipt, the mysterious note, all unanswered questions that refused to leave me. How many people knew? How long had he been weaving lies beneath the surface of our marriage? "Emma, you're quiet tonight," Daniel said suddenly, appearing at my side. His smile was warm, but there was a precision in it that set me on edge. "Enjoying yourself?" "I am fine," I replied, forcing a smile that felt brittle. He leaned closer, his voice lowered just enough for intimacy, yet loaded with subtle command. "Don't read too much into things, okay? Tonight is about celebration, happiness." I nodded, swallowing my unease. He was right. Everyone was here expecting perfection, but perfection was a mask, and I had begun to see the shadow behind it. I drifted to the balcony for air, the city lights sparkling below like distant cold stars. Daniel followed moments later, polite and composed, but then, in a private glance, his mask faltered. The smirk that brushed across his lips when he thought no one was watching revealed the controlling, calculating man beneath the charm. My chest tightened. He had secrets, yes, but more than I dared imagine. From the balcony, I could hear laughter spilling from inside, glasses clinking, conversations flowing. Yet each sound felt like a backdrop to something darker, something I was only beginning to perceive. The birthday party, with all its glitter and celebration, was a stage, and Daniel, its masterful actor. As he returned inside, I lingered a moment longer, the night air sharp against my skin. The envelope, the doubts, the hidden life, it all waited, patient and relentless. Tonight, Daniel's facade dazzled everyone else, but I knew the cracks were already forming, and when they widened, I would be there to witness everything. The party ended hours ago, yet the house felt heavy, the laughter and clinking glasses lingering like ghosts. I sat at the edge of the sofa, the envelope spread open on the coffee table before me. My fingers traced the edges of the photographs again, each image sharper, more damning than the last. Daniel's smile, the woman's casual intimacy, the hotel receipts. They were fragments of a life he had kept hidden, a life he had carefully concealed from me. My hand hovered over the note. See you soon. Don't tell anyone. I could almost hear the warning in its crisp folds. Curiosity clawed at me, relentless and unyielding. With trembling fingers, I dialed the number scrawled beneath the name Claire. The line rang twice before a soft, unfamiliar voice answered. Claire? I asked, my voice tight. Yes, and you must be Emma, the voice said, measured and calm, yet tinged with something unreadable. I suppose you have questions. Questions flooded my mind, but I could barely speak. Who are you to Daniel? What is all of this? A pause. Then Claire's voice, quiet but deliberate. Not everything is as it seems, but some truths you might not be ready for. Be careful, Emma. Some doors, once opened, cannot be closed. I shivered, gripping the phone tighter, trying to steady my racing heart. The voice was cryptic, but it carried authority, knowledge, and warning. I felt exposed, standing on the edge of something I could not yet understand. After the call ended, I stared at the photographs again. Daniel's oblivious charm, the laughter at the party, the flawless facade. It all felt like a performance carefully rehearsed, while I was left piecing together the truth in the shadows. Outside, the wind stirred against the windows, and I imagined the house itself watching me. Every creak a whisper, every shadow a warning. The air seemed heavier, charged with secrets, and I realized this was only the beginning. Daniel emerged from the bedroom, humming softly, oblivious to the storm swirling in my mind. You okay? Long night? I nodded, forcing calm. Just thinking. As he disappeared down the hall, I returned to the envelope, to the photographs, to the note. Claire's warning echoed in my head, and I knew, with a quiet dread, that the perfect life I thought I shared with Daniel was already unraveling. Tonight, the shadows had begun to whisper, and I was listening. The house was silent except for the low hum of the refrigerator. Midnight had come and gone, but sleep was impossible. My hands shook as I gathered the envelope, photographs, and receipts, placing them on the kitchen table, like evidence laid before a jury. Daniel leaned casually against the doorway, his silhouette calm, almost too calm. I need to know the truth, Daniel, I said, my voice trembling yet steady. Who is Claire, and why do you have a hidden life I don't know about? His smile flickered, then hardened. Emma, really? At this hour? He pushed off the wall, stepping closer. I've told you before, you're imagining things. Why do you insist on twisting shadows into accusations? I slammed the photographs onto the table, the sound sharp in the quiet kitchen. Shadows? This is real. These receipts, these pictures, what am I supposed to think? That they just appeared? His eyes narrowed, but the charm lingered in his tone. You always overreact, Emma. You read too much into everything. I've worked hard to make our life perfect, and now you're tearing it apart with suspicion. Suspicion? I whispered, rage and heartbreak mixing in my chest. You've been lying, hiding, manipulating me. Don't gaslight me now. He stepped closer, lowering his voice, a dangerous calm in every word. Gaslight? I've loved you, Emma. Everything else, it's just noise. You want to believe the worst, so you do. I backed away, the room spinning with betrayal and disbelief. Everything else? I echoed, shaking. You call secrets, lies, betrayals, everything else? Daniel's gaze darkened, yet his control never wavered. You need to calm down. You don't want this to get messy, do you? The threat hung in the air, unspoken yet undeniable. My heart pounded, the envelope between us like a fragile line I dared not cross. Every ounce of my being screamed fear, but also resolve. I swallowed, gathering courage from the pain. I can't ignore it anymore. I need the truth, Daniel. All of it. For a long moment he said nothing, the weight of silence almost suffocating. Then with a slow, deliberate smile, he stepped back. Fine, he said softly, but there was steel in his voice. You'll have your truth, but be careful what you wish for. Some doors, once opened, can never be closed. I stared at him, chest tight, knowing in my gut that opening this door would change everything, and I had no idea what I was about to unleash. Sleep eluded me, the darkness of the bedroom pressing close, suffocating. Every creak of the house sounded amplified, like a warning. My mind replayed the confrontation, Daniel's calm, controlled menace lingering in every corner. I closed my eyes, trying to shut it out, but memories flooded in, each one sharper than the last. I remembered the evenings he dismissed my concerns as imaginations, the way he laughed softly at my insecurities, making me doubt my own instincts. The time he blamed me for his anger, subtly twisting words until I questioned my reality. A slow, gnawing realization settled in. These weren't isolated moments. They were patterns, carefully orchestrated, designed to manipulate, control, and isolate me. I sat on the edge of the bed, the envelope still in my hands. Photographs spread like fragments of a shattered life. Each image, each note whispered truths I had avoided seeing. Daniel's charm, so disarming in public, masked a calculated cruelty I had only now begun to comprehend. The man I loved had built a double life, and I had lived oblivious to it, complicit through denial. A memory surfaced. A dinner last month, his words seemingly casual. You worry too much. I know what I'm doing. At the time, I laughed along, convincing myself it was harmless. Now I felt the weight of that manipulation, the quiet erosion of trust that had gone unnoticed for years. The room was dark, the city lights casting long, cold shadows across the floor. My chest ached with anxiety, each heartbeat a reminder of the life I thought I knew slipping through my fingers. I shivered, the envelope trembling in my hands, the paper edges sharp against my skin. Why did I ignore it for so long? I whispered to myself, voice barely audible. No answer came, only the oppressive silence of a home that no longer felt safe. Outside, a siren wailed in the distance, a sharp reminder that danger often arrived unannounced. I pressed my face into the pillow, the scent of Daniel's cologne, once comforting, now nauseating. The night stretched endlessly, a theater of paranoia and revelation. Tomorrow would come and I would have to face Daniel again, armed with a knowledge that made my heart pound and my hands shake. Trust once broken left a residue of fear, suspicion, and unrelenting doubt, and I knew deep down that life as I had known it would never return. The knock on the door was soft but deliberate, echoing through the quiet house. I opened it to find a man in his 40s, dressed in muted tones, carrying a leather briefcase. He introduced himself as Harris, a private investigator, and I felt a mix of relief and anxiety. Entrusting someone with Daniel's secrets was terrifying, yet necessary. Emma, thank you for meeting me, Harris said, his voice calm, methodical. I've been looking into Mr. Carter as requested. I suggest you sit. There's quite a bit to go through. I motioned to the living room, heart hammering. As he opened the briefcase, a stack of files, photographs, and documents spread across the table. The scope of Daniel's double life hit me immediately. Financial accounts I had never known about, large sums disappearing, unexplained transfers, and credit cards under assumed names. These are just the beginning, Harris said, pointing to photographs of Daniel with women I didn't recognize. Affairs, some dating back years. Hotels, private dinners, all documented. And there's a pattern. He's careful, but there are gaps in his planning that can be traced. I sank into the sofa, my hands trembling. I knew I suspected, but this is beyond what I imagined. Harris nodded, flipping through receipts, notes, and phone logs. It gets more serious. Some of these accounts involve illegal activity, embezzlement, tax evasion. If it comes to light, he could face criminal charges. My stomach churned. Daniel, The man everyone admired, the husband I trusted, was living a life that could destroy everything he had built and drag me down as well. "How did you find all this?" I asked, voice barely above a whisper. "Observation, surveillance, financial tracking. I follow the breadcrumbs most people ignore. And in this case, the breadcrumbs led to a much larger trail than expected." His eyes met mine, unwavering. "Emma, the man you know isn't who you think he is." The room seemed smaller, darker, the air heavy with betrayal. I stared at the photographs, the receipts, the meticulous evidence of deception. Each revelation felt like a punch to the chest, leaving me breathless. As Harris packed up, he handed me a file. "Keep this safe. You're going to need it. And remember, don't confront him alone. There's more at stake than just feelings now." I watched him leave, my mind spinning. Daniel's secrets were no longer whispers in the shadows. They were tangible, undeniable, and dangerous. The perfect life I had once believed in was gone, replaced with a darkness that threatened to consume everything I thought I knew. The house was silent, except for the faint ticking of the clock. Shadows stretched across the walls, elongating like dark fingers reaching for me. In my hands, I clutched the folder Harris had given me, the tangible proof of everything I had long suspected. Receipts, photographs, financial statements, messages, all undeniable evidence of Daniel's betrayals. My chest ached, a mix of fear and determination as I waited for him to return from his study. When he stepped into the room, his smile faltered the instant he saw the folder in my hands. "Emma, what is that?" His voice carried calm, but a subtle tension betrayed him. "I told you before, Daniel. I needed the truth. Now I have it," I said, voice steady despite the storm inside me. I placed the folder on the table, sliding it toward him. "Every lie, every hidden affair, every secret account, you can't deny this." He picked up the folder slowly, his eyes scanning the pages, the color draining slightly from his face. "Emma, this isn't what you think, not what I think." I interrupted, anger flaring. "This is exactly what I think. You've manipulated me, lied to me, and built a world on deception. And for what, your ego? Your control?" Daniel's hands trembled just slightly as he set the folder down. "I did what I had to. You wouldn't understand. I wouldn't understand." I echoed, voice rising. "I lived with you. I trusted you. And all this time I was blind to the truth because you were good at hiding it." For a moment he said nothing, the weight of my words filling the room. Then in a quiet, almost chilling tone, he said, "You think exposing this changes anything? You don't know the consequences, Emma. Not for me. Not for you." The walls seemed to close in, the dim light casting angular shadows across his face, revealing the man behind the charm, a man capable of calculated cruelty. My hands shook, but I stood firm, resolute. "I'm done living in your shadow. Tonight the lies end." He laughed softly, a sound that was almost eerie in its calm. "If you think this is over, you have no idea what you've started." I swallowed the fear, my resolve hardening. The house, once a sanctuary, now reflected the tension crackling between us. Everything he had built was crumbling, piece by piece, and I would not step back. Tonight the shattering truth had been laid bare, and nothing would ever be the same. The courthouse felt cold and sterile, a place where truth was measured in documents and testimonies rather than trust and heartbreak. Daniel sat across from me, his carefully maintained facade now fractured, his arrogance replaced by unease. The evidence Harris had uncovered was irrefutable, and the legal proceedings were swift. Embezzlement charges, secret accounts, and affairs all came to light, leaving him exposed in ways he had never anticipated. I watched from the gallery, a quiet resolve settling over me. The anger that had fueled me for weeks was still there, but mingled now with relief, a strange, heavy clarity that came from seeing justice unfold. The man I had once loved, the husband I had trusted, was finally accountable. "You handled this well," Harris said quietly, standing beside me after the hearing. His presence was steady, reassuring. "It's never easy seeing someone you care about in all this chaos, but you did what needed to be done." I nodded, my gaze lingering on Daniel as he was escorted out. I needed to reclaim my life, to see him answer for what he's done." Harris placed a gentle hand on my shoulder. "You will heal, Emma. It won't be immediate and the scars will remain, but you'll find your strength again." The world outside the courthouse was bright, almost painfully so. I stepped into the sunlight, feeling the warmth on my face, and for the first time in weeks I took a deep, unbroken breath. The air smelled of possibility, of small beginnings, though the weight of betrayal lingered beneath the surface. I thought of the envelope, the photographs, the letters, all the shadows that had haunted our marriage. They were gone now, but the lessons remained. Trust is fragile, and the truth, though painful, can be liberating. My steps felt uncertain at first, then more confident as I walked away from the courthouse, away from Daniel's influence, toward a life that was entirely mine. A small smile touched my lips as I thought of the future, tentative but hopeful. Conversations, laughter, and the quiet moments of peace would slowly rebuild themselves. The betrayal had been punished, the secrets exposed, and justice served, but the journey forward would be mine to navigate. Thank you. Harris, I whispered, the words carrying more weight than I expected. He nodded, understanding, and together we walked into the afternoon sun, leaving the shadows behind. Justice had been done, but rebirth was just beginning, and for the first time in a long while, I felt the possibility of freedom, of a life rebuilt from truth, resilience, and the courage to step into the unknown.